El presidente es elegido por el pueblo. O se vende casa. Have you ever seen this type of sentence in Spanish? Well, today's lesson we're going to learn about the passive voice. So let's begin. Let's begin by understanding the difference between the passive voice and the active voice. So, to form the passive voice, we use the verb ser plus a past participle plus the preposition por. To form the active voice, we basically use the noun or subject. Then we have the verb, and then we have the object. So let's take a look at an example. The sentence, el policía vigila la frontera. So the policeman watches the border. Notice that we begin with the subject, then follows the verb, and then the object. So one of the main characteristics of the active voice is that it puts the emphasis on the subject who performs the action. So now let's take a look at the same sentence, but from the passive voice perspective. La frontera es vigilada por el policía. The border is watched by the policeman. Notice that I begin my sentence with the object of the sentence, then follows by the verb ser, the past participle, and the preposition por. So the main difference between the passive and the active voice is that the passive voice, the emphasis is on the object that receives the action, while the active voice puts the emphasis on the subject that does the action. So let's take a look at the following sentence. Los candidatos fueron rechazados por el comité. The two candidates were rejected by the committee. So notice that with past participles, remember that they act as adjectives. So as a result, they have to agree in number and gender, but with the object. So because my object, los dos candidatos, is plural and masculine, then the past participle has to be plural and masculine. So now let's take a look at one more sentence. Las metas fueron alcanzadas. Notice that in this sentence, we are not using the preposition por or mentioning the subject. We are omitting both of those. And the reason is because we can also use the passive voice to de-emphasize the subject of the sentence and instead focus on the object. In this case, then the equivalent in English will be the goals were reached. So we are focusing on the object, which is the goals. Another way to express passive voice in Spanish is by using the passive se. So far you have learned that every time you see a se, it either means reciprocity or reflexive action. But if we look at the sentence, se subirán los impuestos, taxes will be raised. Notice that we are talking in general, and we don't have a specific agent or a specific subject. We just want to say that someone, somehow, at some point, taxes will be raised. Let's take a look at another sentence using the passive se. Se busca secretaria bilingüe. The equivalent in English will be bilingual secretary wanted. So in this case, because I don't know exactly who is this person going to be, then I use the passive se. In this case, my secretary is the same thing as the object of my sentence, and the only condition is that she be bilingual. So, in summary, first, to form the passive voice, begin the sentence with the object, followed with the verb ser, making sure that the verb agrees with the object. Then the past participle, which also agrees in gender and number with the object, the preposition por, and the subject. Second, the purpose of the passive voice is to emphasize the object of the sentence. And third, when referring to undefined objects, then use the passive se. And the sentence will begin with the se, then the verb, and then the object. And that's it for today.